Sometimes small, like a flat tire. Sometimes they're more significant. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. What can we do to make these bumps in the road more manageable? The number one thing we can do is to start saving money for unexpected financial issues today. The rule of thumb is to have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved for emergencies. Working up to that goal may take time, so start with simpler goals, like setting aside an amount equal to the last major car repair or surprise expense. Then save a month's worth of savings, and then another. Any savings we have set aside, whether a little or a lot, is money we won't have to borrow when the unexpected happens, whether it's a car or home repair, job loss, or other emergencies. To get started, we could open a separate savings account for emergencies, and then set up automatic transfers from your checking account on a regular basis. Add a nickname to the account as a reminder of what that money is for. For an extra boost, set aside a portion of windfalls, like tax refunds or job bonuses, and deposit them right into that account. By taking these simple steps, we'll start to see our savings grow, along with the confidence to handle life's twists and turns.
How are you doing? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. And let's talk about what you, the Passport Bros, and Sandra Bland all have in common. And we want to talk about, I want to say maybe earlier this week, sometimes last week, there was an episode where a guy went overseas. I think he went to the DR. He got stranded because I think he didn't probably plan his financial situation out properly before he traveled. And he kind of found himself stuck. And so what he did was he jumped on the internet and tried to get people to help him get his way back inside the United States. And a lot of people took a lot of enjoyment about seeing him in that particular position. I think it was something entertaining to a lot of people. But what I think that a lot of people may not be aware of is that they may be in the same situation as this particular individual financially. They just haven't gotten caught yet. And we're going to kind of talk about that. One of the things that we see a lot is that we could be dealing with a lot of economic instability, and we normalize it. So what happens is we don't really understand how bad things are until a situation arises. And then once the situation arises, then we kind of understand the situation that we're currently in. And what we want to kind of examine is that what situation are we in? Where are we deficient? What is some of the challenges that we may be dealing with? What's our real economic situation? And what are some solutions to that particular problem? Because it may have taken this situation for this person to maybe admit that I'm really economically unstable. I really don't have a really solid economic footing. And even though other people are looking at this particular person and maybe laughing at him, they may also be in the same situation economically if they just really examine their economic situation. So what makes this platform a little bit different is I often ask the viewer or the person that's on the platform to look at their situation and not just be entertained by what's going on the screen, right? As opposed to, let's just laugh at this particular person because they're in a bad spot. And we never ask you, well, what spot are you in? So if I have the time to say, well, hey, you know what, this guy's a joke because he got stranded in the DR and he didn't have $100 to get back to inside the United States. Well, do I have an extra $100? Right? And then often I can try to figure out what situation am I in as opposed to just looking at this person, because it may not be a travel situation, but it could be something else that could arise in my life to make me realize what my economic situation actually is, right? So really quickly, before we go ahead and get started with the information, this particular broadcast is being sponsored by www.thehighestpaid.online. We're currently having our March Madness sale. That's going to be 30% off on the core course. That should pretty much run through the end of March, so you got some time to get into it. But as soon as March is over, March Madness is going to be over. We're going to go right back to our regular pricing. So this has been the highest sale we've had in the history of the particular Options Academy. I would encourage you to go ahead and get in and get active and start thinking about your financial situation as fast as possible, as opposed to waiting for an emergency and then start thinking about it, which is what most people do. Now let's get back to the content, right? So the question we want to ask ourselves is, what is an emergency savings? What are emergency savings? And my definition is that emergency savings are designed to where I have money just in case something goes bad in my life. And often in my lifetime, I have not had money if something goes bad. There was a scenario where I was working. I needed to get a car repair. And when the guy told me how much it was going to cost for me to get the car, I got sick because why? I didn't have the cash money. So I knew I would have to charge it. And then I had to try to figure out after I charged it, what would I have to do to pay it back because my money was already tight. Many of us don't make enough money to really get emergency savings. So we're going to talk about how many people don't have emergency savings and how that creates economic stress. But many of us don't want to admit we don't have the financial ability to create the emergency savings because we don't have enough money coming in on the front end. And until I admit that, I can't do anything about it, right? So what I can do is just ignore it and hope nothing happens. And many Americans are living a lifestyle to where I hope I don't have an economic emergency, then I don't have to face that I'm under a lot of economic insecurity. And I'm just surrounded by a bunch of people. We're all in the same mindset. We're just hoping, right, I don't have an economic emergency, so then I don't have to face the fact that I'm economically insecure, right? And so that's something I've been very much an advocate for because of what I've gone through in my own life, and I know I couldn't have been the only person to go through that. There's no way in the world I would take a travel trip and not know I don't have a certain amount of money just in case an emergency happens. But I haven't normalized that lifestyle. When I've normalized a lifestyle where everything is very cut and close, I barely have enough money to get from one situation to the next situation, and this becomes normal to me, then I just do what I've always been doing. I just hope for the best in every scenario. But as soon as something goes wrong, I realize I don't have it. So let me give you another example. Years ago, I was getting ready to go to Orlando to go see family. I was living in the Atlanta area. I'm not from where it gets cold, so I don't really know how to function in the cold. So I woke up this morning to go drive to Hartsfield, and there was frost all over my car. So I'm sitting in outside my car trying to figure out how to get this frost off my car because this is not something that you got to deal with in Florida. As a result, I was late leaving. By the time I got to the airport, parked my car, got over to the check-in, I was late. Check-in told me, you got to check in 30 minutes ahead of your flight for us to even check your bags. If you don't get 30 minutes ahead of your flight for us to check your bags, when your flight takes off, we won't check them. So what I had to do then was at that moment, buy another ticket to catch the flight to Orlando. That was an extra $250. The reason why I was able to do it is because I had the money. So I had the financial ability to actually buy a ticket at that time. Another example, I was driving from Orlando to Houston, got to Baton Rouge and got caught in bad traffic. Decided I was going to stay overnight in Baton Rouge. I had to buy a hotel at that moment. And normally when you're buying a hotel day of, you only pay higher prices than if you get it ahead of time. But I had the financial ability to get a hotel because I got stuck in Baton Rouge. I didn't want to drive to Lafayette at nighttime. So I said, I just spend the night in Baton Rouge instead of trying to make it to Lafayette at night. I had the financial ability to get that hotel stay and not be in what I call a rat trap hotel. But I had the financial wherewithal to do that. Many people would have had to just try to figure out how to get to Lafayette because that's where my hotel was registered at. It was already reserved. I just never was going to be able to get there. So I had to eat that cost and then pay for another hotel room. Many of us normalize a life of being financially insecure, and everybody around us has the same mentality. And then nobody really has to deal with it till something goes wrong. And then we got to try to figure out how to shift our life when something goes wrong. So that's what I've been an advocate of, people having a lot of financial confidence because they know they can make enough money and that anytime they want to, they can get money out of this particular market, as opposed to being financially insecure and then hoping all the time that nothing goes wrong. So most people can't do the emergency savings. What did we talk about before? The wealthy have the savings to go build more wealth, right? Most of us do not have the savings to go build more wealth because we don't have the savings. So all of our money goes just to support our lifestyle. So what we do is we get paid and all our income goes to support our lifestyle. So we can't really travel. We can't really take trips. We can't really invest in other things because why? All of my money goes just to support my lifestyle. So what I do when I want to take a trip, I got to always take the cheapest options. And even then, I'm cutting it close, right? Because I'm really economically insecure. I don't want to admit that, right? And I want to live the life of a person that's bringing in more income, but I want to do it on my budget. I said from the gate, a lot of these people, male and female, are just frustrated tricks. The males and the females, they're frustrated tricks. Because the lifestyle you're looking to live, you can live inside the United States, but you got to pay for it. So what I'm looking to do is get an equivalent lifestyle that I think somebody in the US would get if they could pay for it. But I'm looking to get it in a different market where the costs are not as high because I can't pay the US cost. I'm not saying that you should get the best value for your dollar. But many of these people are frustrated tricks, which is why they're leaving tier one markets to go to lower end markets, right? Where they can try to live the lifestyle of somebody that actually has it, but do it in a different environment. And it's not just the males that's doing it, it's the females that's doing it too, right? We're going to really talk about the game. Tricking is not sex specific, right? All of y'all is tricks, male and female. But I don't blame you. You was raised to be a trick by the system because the system monetizes your desire to be a trick, right? So what you do now is you go overseas and try to figure out how can I be the trick I always wanted to be, because I can't be that trick inside the United States because I can't pay, because I can't go to Miami and really ball out because I don't have the paper. I can't go to LA and really ball out because I don't have the paper. I can't go to NY and really ball out. I can't go to Chicago. Can't go to Vegas and really do it the way I want to because my paper don't look like that. So what I got to do is travel to a non-tier 1 market to try to live the lifestyle I want and take advantage of my exchange rate to live the life that I want so I can be the trick I always wanted to be, right? And that's really what the game is. And there's nothing wrong with that. You do what you do. But when you're doing that and you're economically unstable, as soon as one little thing goes wrong, your whole situation, right, gets thrown out of whack, right? Well, when you are economically stable, you've already factored in something's going to go wrong, and then you have the situation already put to the side for that to happen. So anytime I travel, I always factor in it's going to take me longer to get there than what I thought, and I may have to spend an extra day in a city. I factor in I might miss a plane, especially if I got to do any kind of layover. The plane might be late. I might miss that plane. I factor these into my trip. So I always have things set up to where things can go wrong. When you don't have the money, everything has to go right for you. Every trip has to go exactly the way you think it's going to go. Every scenario, you can't ever have anything go wrong because why? I'm economically unstable. So therefore, I buy a car, but the car can never break down. Why? Because I barely got this car, right? I get a house, and the house can never have any repair issues. Why? Because I barely got this house. See, this is the danger of being economically unstable. And then you can never stack up the money to solve these problems because I'm just making it with what I got going in. Let's go to the next point, right? Let's look at this bank rate article, right? So here is bank rate. My bad. Let me see. Here's bank rate. So the majority of U.S. households are easy with level of emergency savings, right? So more than half of 1,000 adults surveyed said they were concerned about the amount they have in emergency savings, up from 48%, right? So the percentage of Americans who are comfortable with their emergency savings has gone down from 54% to 42% over the past 2 years, right? Those feeling uncomfortable has jumped from 44% up to 58%. Inflation at the highest level in 40 years will erode the comfort level with and buying power of your emergency savings. So we talked about inflation all the time. How comfortable with your level of emergency savings? 32% very uncomfortable, all the way down to 13% said they were very comfortable. So only 13% of the 1,000 plus people surveyed were very comfortable with their emergency savings, right? Of those uncomfortable with their emergency fund, 75% had no savings or not enough to cover 3 months worth of living expenses. Just 43% of those who were very uncomfortable had any savings at all. So 43% of those who are very uncomfortable had no savings. Households with higher annual income were higher level of comfort with their savings. Of those that earned $100,000, more than half were comfortable, with less than half, those earning $50,000 to $99,000, being comfortable with their emergency savings. Among households that earn less than $50,000 annually, 37% had no emergency savings at all. Okay. So what we're seeing is that a lot of people are not comfortable with their emergency savings or have very little. And millennials are slightly less in savings than older generations. That's normal because normally when you're earlier in your working stages, you normally don't make the amount of money that you're going to make as you get older. So it's not unusual to me for millennials to have less savings than Generation X and also baby boomers because they haven't really hit their prime working years. But what I want people to understand is that many people have no savings or they're not comfortable with the amount of savings that they have. And so as a result, right, they're just trying to figure out how can I live a life and nothing goes wrong. So we look at the stranded passport bro, the guy that is doing so bad. What he got to do now is jump on the internet and hope somebody helps him get out of the Dominican Republic, right? This is an issue for a lot of people because what they do is they won't put themselves in a position to do better. And what they try to do is try to figure out how can I get around not dealing with the particular issue. So instead of me just dealing with the issue and trying to figure out how to function, right, and do better than what I'm currently doing, I just try to ignore it and do better. I try to ignore it and just get past it. But that's normal because I live the same lifestyle, right? The problem I had is that I wouldn't buckle down and do what it was going to take to change my situation. I just try to figure out how to get through it. And the only thing that made me change my life is I said, what am I going to do to change my situation? But for years, I said, well, you know what? I'm cutting things very close economically. How can I just get through it? How can I just, make this work? Yada, yada, yada. Instead of saying, you know what? This is no longer acceptable. Let me do something about it. And so I think it's really a downfall for a lot of men to think, well, you know what? And women to think, well, you know what? I'm not in a good economic situation inside the United States, but I can live the life that I want to live if I just go overseas. We're not talking about people that have worked 60 years and trying to live off their pension or their retirement. We're talking about people that are still in their working years. And instead of them trying to figure out how to solve their economic situation, what they want to do is try to figure out how to escape their economic situation. And I think that's very unfortunate. But the world that we live in now allows them to do that. And they're very adamant about having the ability to do it. And I say, yeah, go ahead and do it. It's your business. It's your life. But what we talked about before is that you get stranded and now you got to reach out to other people to try to help you. And my question to the young man is this. You don't have a network of men that could have gave you that $100. So you don't have a network of men amongst you that all of them could have shot you $25. You don't have family that could have gave you the $100. You got to now go to the internet and ask for the $100. But we've seen people on the internet, and this is a YouTube thing. They're living in their car and they're asking their YouTube followers for money. Right? So this is just like an internet thing that they do. So it works. But I just think it's very unfortunate that you're a man, you know other men, you're traveling, and you didn't have phone numbers to say, hey, let me reach out to these other men and ask all of them for $25 so I can get back inside the United States. I got to jump online and ask them. But this is how people live their life, right? And so I think when people don't really make these issues their focus, it put themselves in this particular position, because what we often do in this country is we normalize not having anything extra, just living hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. And if everybody else around you lives hand to mouth, we normalize it, right? So let's go into the next point. Let's talk about Sandra Bland real quick. So we know Sandra Bland got locked up. She had a $5,000 bail. She could have provided it, right? She didn't have the ability. She know we can get a bail bondsman. You're going to pay 10%. So that means she got to put up $500. Okay. She didn't have the 500. So she didn't have the $5,000. Nor did she have the 500 to put up for the bail bondsman at that time, right? She reached out to somebody that she knew, right? That she was somewhat, I think she was putting furniture or a property at his particular place. She reached out to him. The communication got mixed up, and he was never able really to figure out what her bail amount was, right? So this was her network in Prairie View, right? The next person she reached out to was her sister. She notified her sister what her bail amount was, but her sister was in Chicago. She's down in Texas. They could not come up with the $500, right? So by the time they came up with the 500, or by the time they kind of massed and mustered together to come up with $500, she had already passed away. So we see that when we take this situation from the internet, levity and something for people to laugh at and something for people to try to get internet fame off of, in real life, this situation impacts people. Because Sandra Bland's network couldn't get $500 together for her. So this is when it's no longer funny. So when I can no longer get like internet traction off of it, I can no longer try to make these guys look bad. I can no longer try to promote myself. In the real life situation, you have a scenario where a woman's family can't even get $500, right? So we don't know what happened if we would have bailed her out, because we couldn't bail her out, right? Because we couldn't get to 500. But we look at a guy like Sam Bankman-Fried, and his bail was on a crazy number, and his people came together and bailed him out. And his bail was well over $5,000. He had a big bail, but he got action on his bail, and his people came and got him out of jail. So now he's fighting this case from the street. And that's what I want people to understand. So this is a real life scenario, right? That actually impacts people, because we talked about before, Most people that's sitting in county is because they can't pay their bail. They can't find nobody to come in and get them out. Right? So that's what I want people to understand. This is a real life scenario. People don't have the extra money to where if something goes wrong, we can all come together, get the paper up, and move on this particular issue because we've normalized just having enough. But everything else is important to us except that. Okay, let's keep going. So let's look at this Pew Research study real quick. And I want people to take this with a grain of salt. So Pew Research polled a few thousand people. I wish the study was bigger because they're inferring for 40-something million Black people. But most Black Americans can meet their basic needs financially, but they experience economic insecurity. Let's go to the headlines. Among the October 21 study, 2 in 10 Black incomes with lower incomes, 18%, say they don't have enough to meet basic needs. Another 4 in 10 say their household finances are just meeting their basic needs. However, Black adults with higher incomes, right, 4%, and only 1% say they don't have enough to meet their basic needs, right? So we look at lower incomes, 18% don't have enough. 4 in 10, 40% say they're just making it. But once we get to higher income Black people, right, only 4% with middle incomes and 1% with upper incomes say they don't have enough. So what we're seeing is a disparity. We're seeing that income is being a real factor for people, either having enough to meet their basic needs or not having enough, okay? So most Black adults say their household finances met their basic needs with some extras. Just 36% say they have an emergency or rainy day fund to cover 3 months of expenses in case of sickness, job loss, economic downturns, or other emergencies. There's wide disparities amongst family income tiers and educational attainment levels. 7 in 10 of Black adults with upper income say they have an emergency or rainy day fund to cover 3 months of expenses, right? So just 7 in 10. Okay. Among Black adults with middle incomes, fewer than half have an emergency fund. So we're looking at the amount of people, about 1 in 7 Black adults work. They need more than one job, with most doing just to meet basic needs. So it's always interesting when this type of stuff is hilarious to people, because we have a large amount of the population that they're really in the same boat as this guy. Now, what they may not do is make the same economic decisions that he make. They may not say, hey, let's go overseas, even though I'm broke. They may not make that decision. But the problem is that they're so economically unstable. If something happens to them, their whole life is going to get thrown out of whack. So it may not happen overseas. It may just happen inside the United States. And I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of people because they haven't made this they haven't made it important to them. Because really, everybody I know is dealing with the same thing. So we just try to figure out how I get by. I've never traveled without having a certain amount of money on my credit card because anything can happen, right? I also don't travel to another country without their currency. So when I travel overseas, not only do I have access to USD through my credit card, I also make sure I have enough of their currency. So before I even go to that country, I'm already bringing their currency in. I'm not bringing in a lot of money, but I have their currency just in case I'm somewhere and I can't transact electronically. But I'm able to do that because I have the financial wherewithal before I ever show up. I would never show up in a foreign land with an empty pocket because anything can happen. You can get sick and need hospital care. You know how you're going to pay for it. So I think, like I said before, is that because so many people are living this lifestyle before they travel, then when they travel, they just try to bring that same lifestyle with them. Or I normalize barely making it all the time, right? So I normalize just barely making it from week to week, the month to month, the year to year. And so I don't ever think something's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to deal with it economically because I've normalized barely making it. And everybody I know is normalized barely making it. Just like with Sandra Bland, a $500 amount becomes too much for her family. She don't have it and nobody in her network has it. Right? But there's no way 5 people shouldn't be able to come up with $500 because that's $100 per person. But they didn't have it. So they're trying to get it. And then while they're trying to get it, she passes away. I think that's very unfortunate. So I wanted to show you something on the social media level that people could laugh at and, it makes them feel better because they may have issue with this group, but also show you something in the real world that's not funny to make people kind of understand that this is a real life situation for a lot of people. I'm here to tell you again, the majority, if you go to your county jail right now, most people are there because they can't pay their bail. They're not there because they some super criminal, they dangerous to the public, right? They're not there because they lawyers working some type of legal maneuver and they want to try to fight their case from jail. They're there because they can't pay what it's going to cost to get out because they don't have it, right? So the whole county jail system is based on the fact that most people don't have the money. It's not based on you being guilty or you being some type of super criminal that you needed to be separated from the public. It's really based on the fact that you don't have the money to get out. Because if you have the money, they'll let you out, right? So this is what I want people to really understand. So this impacts a lot of people. Let's go to the next one because we're going to talk about solutions, right? Make your economic situation a priority in your life. So we're going to keep repeating this. And we're going to talk about this all this month, right? We're going to talk about the downside of you not making your economic situation a priority. You making everything else a priority. So let's really talk the game real quick. You know, I had to get that one buster out of here, but you know, this is the internet. So, you know, you exposed to busters, you know, so, but we get them up out of here real quick, right? This is what I don't understand, but I come from a different side of the game, right? I don't come from the internet or, you know, sitting in the house playing video games 24 hours a day. I don't understand why I'm going to go to the DR and I run into a financial crisis and the women I'm dealing with can't help me. So why you came there then? So this is why I say this is just tricking. Because my question is, what I'm going to the DR to deal with a bunch of women, and then I get into a financial crisis and none of the women you dealing with, they can't help you. So then you got to go to some other people, but you came to the DR to see these women. So they can't help you. But it's the same thing with the women. You go into the islands or you go into whatever to deal with some men, and then you got an issue, and them same men you dealing with can't help you. But see, I come from a different type of game, right? So I don't still understand why I'm going anywhere to see a woman. My question is, why is she not coming to the States to see me? If I'm adding so much value to her situation, wouldn't I be attractive enough to get her to travel to come see me? See, when I wanted to learn about stuff and when I wanted to improve myself, do you know I traveled to those places to get that game, to get those instructions, to get that information? I didn't expect a person that had the game to come to me. So I went to DC one time for a mastermind. I went to the UK one time for a mastermind. Went to Miami one time for a mastermind. Been to Atlanta for masterminds when I was living in Florida. So I was willing to travel to get the value from these other people. I didn't expect them to travel to come see me. So what I don't understand is that if I got the game and I have the information and I have the perspective that's going to be a benefit to this person, why I'm coming to see them? That's why I say it's just a bunch of tricking. And we know when it comes to tricking, there's no limit to what these people will do to get their tricking desire fulfilled. So they can fool, you know, they call it whatever they want to call it. It's just tricking by another name. Because I still don't understand, if I'm over in the DR dealing with all these women and things go south, why I can't hit up none of them women? First, they in the DR to help me out. Then I can't hit up no men in my network to help me out. It wasn't like they said that you got to pay $30,000 to get out of the DR. It was $100. You telling me none of those women in DR that you're dealing with can cash out you $100? Why are you dealing with them then? Right? So it just go to kind of show you that it's a lack of value being put on yourself, and you just bring that to every situation. But like I said, I come from a different environment, and I haven't built my platform out talking about a lot of tricking. But I think that's a downside. When you don't make your economic situation a priority in your life, it leaves you vulnerable to a lot of situations. And we're not talking about having millions of dollars stacked up. We're talking about just having $1,000 that you can touch at any moment, right? Just 1,000 liquid. Start with that, right? Start with a G liquid. If something go wrong, I know I got 1,000 liquid that I can touch. Then once you get that, build up from there, right? You know, I don't necessarily say you got to have 3 months. Just get you 1,000. You'll be surprised how much confidence you'll have if you just got $1,000 in the bank. But when you got zero money sitting up, anything go wrong, it'll throw your whole day off, right? Because you can get a ticket and they say it's $300, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay it because you don't have no money. Because you haven't made your economic situation a priority in your life. We're going to talk about all this month about people not doing that and the downside of people not doing that. Everything else is more important than that. Okay? Next solution, right? Don't get distracted by people and things. Because when it goes south, most of the time, they're not going to help you. Once again, that person that had to jump on YouTube and ask for some money, where's his network of people that he talked to on a regular basis? They couldn't help him out. He's going to people that he don't know to ask for money. Who's the people that you know on a regular basis that you talk to? They couldn't give you no money. Who's your family members? They couldn't shoot you nothing. So when you get distracted by people and things on your economic journey, the people that you're distracted with, when things go south, they're not going to help you. Why? They don't have it. And they don't want you to remind them that they don't have it. So they're going to just disappear. Then you got to reach out to a bunch of people that don't know you, that really don't owe you anything, and ask them for help. And they looking at you like you're crazy. So this is the downside. But like I said, because we know that people group, one of the biggest groupings in this country, it's not just race, it's not just religion, right? One of the biggest groupings in this country is economic. So most people that make a certain amount of money, that are a certain level economically, that's their whole network. So when I'm economically unstable, right, a lot of times based on my income, I normally hang around those same type of people. Because I knew this Arab dude, right? And he told me they over there in what you call it, Dubai, they really get into it, right? He said in his network, if somebody go broke, they just go to everybody in the network, and everybody in the network shoot them, son, and they right back on their feet. See what I'm saying? They just go to their network, and everybody in the network shoot them something, and they get right back on their feet, and they just keep going because they know the person going to pay them back because it's in their customs. So because everybody that got money, all they know is other people that got money like this. If they have an economic downturn, they just go to some more people that got some money. Right? So I think, like I said before, is that most people don't want to admit on this internet that their associates, the people that they deal with on a regular day and a day basis, is because of their economic and their class position. Right? They don't want to admit that they got to be everything else. But then when they have an economic crisis, the truth comes out that I don't know anybody outside of this economic situation. So it's only those people that can help me. And just like I don't have it, they don't have it. That's why I know them. So I'm not making $30,000 a year or 40 grand a year. And I know people making millions of dollars a year. They in my personal network. Because why would they be in my personal network? See what I'm saying? So that's why I tell people, when you start your economic journey, take 2 years and just lock in. And don't worry about nothing else. Don't worry about what people are talking about. Don't worry about anything else, because everything is a distraction from you building yourself up when you get in a foothold. People are going to show up in your life. They're going to look good. They're a distraction, right? The lie that these Anglo-Saxons have created is that the devil is ugly and the devil is unattractive. The devil in your life can be the most attractive thing in the world. And you don't realize that's the devil in your life, right? So that's a lie that get a lot of people caught up. They think the devil is unattractive. The devil could be the most attractive thing you ever seen before in your life. That could still be the devil in your life. It could still be the spirit of evil acting in your lifetime. So when you get on your economic journey, for the next 2 years, don't worry about nothing but just get right. Leave everything else alone. And if a person don't want to help you do that, don't have nothing to do with them. Because when things go bad, they're not going to help you. So if you're not going to help me get correct economically, you also not going to help me when things go bad. So what you around me for? Right? This is something I learned from this dude who taught me the markets. Don't agree with everything he say. Right? But he was right about this. One of the most powerful things he taught me. He said, if I like you, I don't want to see you be broke. I got a video on YouTube is that a bunch of broke people hate each other. Right? If I actually like you, I don't want to see you be economically down. So why am I hanging around you day in and day out? Why am I associating with you? And I don't like the fact that you are broke. It should offend me so much, I got to get away from you. So if I'm hanging around you and you ain't got nothing going economically, but I'm still dealing with you, you know what it means? I don't like you. So if you're trying to get your economic situation together and you got a bunch of people around you and they don't want to help you, they don't like you. It don't mean you should go be by yourself. It means you should find some people that want to help you get your economic situation together. Right? So that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. A lot of times you're being distracted by people that are not going to help you, right? Get your economic situation together. But when things go bad, they still not going to help you. So they're not going to help you in either way. They cool with you staying right where you at. And it's bigger than you just being on the internet saying, well, I'm going to just be all by myself. No, you need to go find some people that's going to help you. They're in the world. They're going to actually help you. Right? But you have to actively be seeking those people out. I was watching this YouTube video the other night. This dude was talking to these two white dudes, young cats. They doing real estate in Texas. Do you know they called 500 people to get their first deal? Right? These two dudes, young cats, didn't have a lot of upfront capital. They were looking for somebody to sell a finance. They called 500 people to get their first deal. Then once they got their first terms of their deal, then they went and found private money to get that first deal financed. They're going to make a lot of money together. Why? Because they don't want to see each other broke. And they willing to do the work to make sure that the other person ain't broke. They're not getting distracted. Them dudes going to be 40 years old, man. They're going to have net worths in the double-digit millions. Because they don't want to see each other be broke. A lot of people are cool with being broke, and everybody around them cool with them being broke. And they wonder what the problem is. That's the problem. Because you have not made this important, and you're distracted by people and things. Right? I'm telling you, my best advice to you, I don't do the relationship stuff. I don't do none of that stuff because y'all don't really want to hear that. Y'all want to hear what the people want. Y'all want to hear what y'all want to hear. Male or female, if you want to be economically successful, you need to lock in for 2 years and you need to cut everybody out of your life that's not trying to help you. I'm not meaning to help you. They're giving you money. I mean, they're not invested in you being successful in that area. Just get them away from you. Come back and talk to them in 4 years. Right? Because you'll never get there if you allow yourself to keep being distracted by this stuff. Curate your life around people that want to help you in this area. Right? And figure out how you can help them. And build you a circle of people. All of y'all is helping each other get money. Right? I didn't build out a community where I only get paid, but I don't help people. I try to help people get paid. Because that's how I'm going to get even more money. Because I wanted to build that symbolic, that I forgot what you call it, that synergy. But I'm here to really tell you, leave this stuff alone. Because what's going to happen, and we're going to talk about this more and more, people are always presenting you with something that's never going to help your economic situation. Then just like them people in East Palestine, Ohio, when something happens, you realize the reason why it's happening is because of your economic situation. But then ask yourself, what have I been focused on the last 4 years? You haven't been focused on your economic situation, though. You've been focused on everything else. Then when something happens, you realize the reason why this is happening is because of my economic situation. But what have you been focused on the past 5 to 10 years? Not your economic situation. Right? So I've surrounded myself by people that don't think this is important. And then when something happens, I realize, well, it's my economic situation is why this is taking place. Now it's important. It's too late now because it's already taking place. So that's what I want you to understand. So we're going to read the comments. We're going to get up on out of here, right? Appreciate everybody for coming through. So Dennison says the gender war is a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. It's very profitable. You know, we got Anglos doing gender war content for black folks, right? We got high yellow Puerto Ricans that's passing for white doing gender war content for black people. It's very profitable, right? It's very profitable. So it ain't going anywhere because it's too profitable. The vertical makes too much money for people. They're not going to let that go away. Right? I just don't engage in it because it's the community I'm trying to build. Like I said before, I don't build a community where I'm the only person that make money. A lot of people are cool with that. Right? They're cool with being broke, but just the celebrities got money. To me, that don't work. That's not community. Community is where we all making money, not just no one person. Right? But money people, they're cool with a community where only celebrities got money and I'm broke, but it don't matter because everybody I know is broke, so I'm not tripping. That's not a community to me. That's not the kind of community I want to live in. And it's not a race thing, it's an economic thing. Right? So now it's not a waste of time. It's very profitable for a lot of people. So Erica, I appreciate the $20 from Erica Classic Cloud Smartphone Money. Who's in your phone? It's important you will call. So my friend brought a Sprinter van off his trucking friend, giving him the money. It's important you can call. Most definitely. Your network is really important. You know, it's very, very important. I think a lot of people, they don't really, I think that's a level. Sometimes we don't want to admit that, and we make it a race thing. It's really not a race thing. It's really an economic thing. And I'm going to talk about that a little more because I got invited to a forum, and it was for people that had generated a certain amount of money in a certain space. And I'm going to talk about that, right? And all we talked about was how to generate more money in this space. We didn't talk about anything else. We didn't talk about religion. We didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about wokeism. We didn't talk about, identity. We just talked about how do we generate more money in this space that we're in, right? Because what they're trying to do is connect us with these people because these people can help us in what we're doing because they're already doing it. So your network is really, really important because like I said, I'm not your friend. In fact, I'm your enemy if I'm cool with you being broke. In America, that's one of the worst things you can be. I'm really your enemy if I'm just cool with you just being flat all the time and never having nothing. But you think I'm your friend because I'm allowing you to just do what you want to do. But there's no in the world I would tell one of my friends, you broke, you need to go to DR to trick off. You need to try to figure out how you're going to get some money, right? But I can't trick off the way I want to trick off in the United States. I got to go to DR, and now I'm a boss trick. I want to live this boss trick lifestyle in DR. Y'all is crazy to me, but I'm not a trick, man. So y'all do what y'all do. Somebody getting paid. So the solution is I appreciate the $5 for the record. You didn't ask for that, but here you go. I appreciate the $5. Big up to the accredited solutionist experience. Mr. Moore, appreciate the $9.99 super chat. So Broke Network, yeah. So Dave Ramsey says start off with $1,000. Okay, so at least we got that in common. Yeah, just get $1,000. You don't have to start with 3 months because I think a lot of people gonna think that's too much money. Just get you $1,000. If you get $1,000 cash, you more liquid than most people. If you just got $1,000, you can just go touch it. You more liquid than most people because most people don't have $1,000 sitting up, and then from there you can build up. But just get you $1,000, right? Because if you is in a group of 5 people and y'all all got $1,000, y'all liquid by $5,000. Now y'all could go do something. You could potentially go make a move somewhere because we at least got 5,000 sitting up. That's how groups work. Everybody get to a certain level, and now we can chip off some of that and go make a move somewhere. So yeah, I would just say get your first 1,000, and then from there you can build up, and it'll build up a confidence that I can stack up a certain amount of money, liquid. So Emeka says a lot of people winging it out here with no social communication skills. Yeah, definitely. It's real big. It definitely is. But they're being organized, right? The real profit is to organize a lot of people that I would call like the outliers, right? We organize them and to make myself profitable on social media. But you notice when they go to different environments, they can't even have a conversation about it, right? So men and women stateside are later with men and women that can't give them 100. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I said that about Floyd. All that tricking he was doing, which he probably still doing. So you watch the Showtime, and Floyd had a house full of women. I say, Floyd, if you can't get $1,000 out of each one of them women, you need to get them out of your house, bro. But I'm not a trick. It's no in the world I got a house full of women, and I'm making all the money, and I can't get 1,000 out of y'all if something happens. Y'all got to go, because you can't keep coming up in my house with no empty pocket. And y'all just living off me. But I'm not a trick. Floyd a trick. And big up to him. Floyd make a lot of money. But yeah, Floyd a big time trick. So he cool with that. I can't have no house full of women, and I'm paying all the bills. And I can't get y'all just in here eating food and sucking up the AC. I can't live like that. But everybody different. Mike Vick had that with dudes. He had a bunch of dudes in VA just living off Mike Vick. And he can't get $1,000 out of none of them dudes. Them same people that turn around and told on Mike Vick too. That's why you can't have all them people around you like that. That's the same people that turn around and told on Mike Vick, the same people he was taking care of. Rollo had the same issue out here in Atlanta. Same people was taking care of the same people that turned around and told on him, but they weren't paying no bills though. TW says in Mexico, if you can't pay your hospital care bill, they will not let you leave. Yeah, I heard that. I heard in some places you got to have the money literally up front to get the medical care. 5-6 bands cash for overseas. I feel you. So Erica Williams, Classy Clown, Smartphone Money, $10. Appreciate the super chat. Just one credit card could change your life. The average American don't take vacations, lack of money, just like health folks don't care. An emergency happens, pay the cash off some point. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Healthcare is another one, but yeah, get you a credit card and stack some paper. Get a grand. I would encourage everybody to get a grand. Mr. Lawrence, I appreciate the $4.99 super sticker. So times like this, a $5,000 credit card comes in clutch. Over 7 million people are running around without a basic checking account to access funds if something went down. That's from the Solutionist experience. I feel you. So Denison, appreciate the $5 super chat. I'm 26 years old. Ever since I was 20, I've seen people ask for money on the internet. Just asking questions lets you know the deal. I feel you. So Erica says, saddest case ever. I think we're talking about Sandra Bland. She drove from Chicago to Texas in a car, didn't have 500 credit card. Yeah, she was very economically unstable. And so was her family, though. So really, she just was a byproduct of her community. She was economically unstable, and so was her family. So when the $500 bill came up, they couldn't rally to get her out. You know what I'm saying? Because it would have been my family member. If I couldn't get in contact with somebody there, I'd have been on the first thing smoking down there. Right? Because anything can happen when you locked up. You know, she could have ran into somebody that thought she was somebody else. They could have did something to her. Anything can happen while you're locked up. You don't never know what's going to happen to somebody while they're locked up. So Journey says he tried to come back and say it was a social experiment. I mean, he got to do what he got to do. You know, he got to do what he got to do. But the problem is that the people around him ain't going to have no issue with that. Because that's the community. So the people around him not going to have no issue. Bro, you ain't have $100? Because I'd have said, why you just didn't call me? I would have shot you the 100. Said, you getting on the internet. So Ann says, Antonio Daniels had that dude on his channel, and the dude was talking a lot of mess. I mean, that's how, if you live your life like that, that's how you live your life. Some people don't have no shame. You know, and I know he don't, because he got online and told everybody what the situation was. So, you know, he don't care that people know. You know, some people, this is how they live their life. So Erica says, South Koreans go to the Philippines to trick. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, you ain't seen no trick until you deal with them Asians. They pros at it. They take it to a whole nother level, especially them Japanese. Yeah, so Katrina, something that my mother told me is that when she was dating, she would always have a certain amount of money on her for like a taxi cab. You know, I don't think any woman should go out without having, one, the money for the bill of wherever she's going, and transportation money to get home, whether that be Uber, taxi cab, whatever. Right? I don't care how much you, because it's not about you knowing that person. It's just about you not being so economically vulnerable you can't do it. Same thing if you go out of town with somebody. You got to have the money to be able to get back on your own, because you don't never know what can happen. You know what I'm saying? Until you marry to somebody, you should never expect it's going to go a certain way. But you're challenging this idea in this person's head is that they should be taken care of like they're 5 years old. Right? So that's the issue. But a lot of them not going to have that issue because they going overseas to trick. They're not going overseas with somebody. They going overseas with a girl trip to trick off in the Caribbean. And it is what it is. I ain't mad at them. Like I say, tricking is make a lot of money for people. So y'all keep tricking. Get a promotion on your job and trick off some more. So that's pretty much all the comments. Let me get down to the bottom and we're going to get up on out of here. So Alonzo says, I have a client who travels and intend on moving overseas. So far, he's invested $500K with me into his 10-year plan. Okay, big up to him. He a boss trick. They want to be a boss trick because that's what's glamorizing them. That's what Ty Lopez was selling. being a boss trick. Big up to Ty Lopez, hell of a marketer. But he was selling being a boss trick. The same thing with that the guy that said he made all his money playing poker, right? They just, they promote the boss trick lifestyle, right? But that's what people think they want. They think that's the height of everything. Surrounding yourself around a bunch of broke prostitutes. GC, what's up with it? Yeah, I would say most people I don't believe have 1,000 liquid. Right? They may have it in their 401k. They may have it on credit, but they don't have it liquid. Right? They don't have it liquid. And I think a lot of people, you say, I don't think they have a liquid. And I'm not, so to me, you should have access to currency in a lot of different ways. So you should have the credit card game. You should have some cash sitting up. You may have a 401k. You should have it in, because you don't never know what you're going to have to go touch. So what's going to be the easiest thing for you to go get to, right? So you can make a move the way you want to make a move. So I don't think most people got 1,000 sitting up, not liquid, right? So hopefully they got some credit that they can use, but they don't have 1,000, because that dude, to me, don't have credit because he should have been able to just charge the extra amount on the plane ticket. So he don't even have credit. So it's very unfortunate for him. But luckily he was able to get home safe. Yeah, I know some people, like my mother grew up in Chicago. She told me you had to have at least $5 on you because if you got mugged and you don't have $5, they probably would shoot you. So some people carrying money on them was like a survival tactic. You got to have at least $5 on you because if you get mugged and you ain't got $5, they likely to try to shoot you. Right? I don't like to leave the house. When I was growing up, I don't like to be broke. So to me, if I didn't have money, I would just stay in the house. I wouldn't know when I was going to come out of the house and I ain't had no money in my pocket because I just felt like, what am I doing outside? I don't have nothing. But that was the neighborhood I grew up in. Everybody raised different. So you got some neighborhoods where you could be outside and be broke and it's cool. I wasn't raised that way. So if I didn't feel like my pockets was looking a certain way, I just stayed in the house. It wasn't nothing for me to come outside about. But everybody moved different. Everybody raised in different neighborhoods and they came up different. But yeah, I can't do it. I'm going to sit in the crib. Right? So I don't come out the house if I don't have a certain kind of money. Because I don't like begging people for nothing. Because, I don't want to, I don't like begging people for nothing. So if I don't have it, I'm going to just stay still. I'll get it, then I'll come out. So I can't pronounce the end of it. She says, people either are money in or money out. So my friends and family were mad when I had it, but they didn't need it. My bad. So appreciate the comment. Yeah, Ty Lopez did his thing. Hell of a marketer, though. Hell of a, he took media buying to a whole nother level on YouTube, and he showed a lot of people how to do it. Can't take that from him. A lot of people had no idea how to really do YouTube ads till he did it. And he just did on another level that a lot of people weren't ready for. And they still have yet to see somebody do it on his level. I'm talking about media buying right now. He took it to a whole nother level that nobody has replicated yet. So big up to him on that level. Hell of a marketer. He just is. But, he promoted tricking because he knew that's what dudes wanted. And he probably a trick, because it's not uncommon for people, male or female, to be tricks. It's you raised to be a trick. That's how you raise in an environment like that. So if you a male or a female and you standing on something and, you taking certain things out of the situation because people looking at you like you're crazy. Like, what is this? So yeah, that's just the game. That's the world we live in today. Yeah, Dan Blazarian, big up to him. Eric, I appreciate the $4.99. Yeah, everybody be tricking in Gambia. So Gambia is a big environment for tricking. Male, female, everybody be tricking in Gambia. That's just where they go to do that. Because this thing is worldwide. This is not just, this is worldwide. It's a worldwide trick economy. People can't get enough of it. You know what I'm saying? So even that dude that went down to DR, if he had a good experience, he gonna go back down there. Right? because it'll blow your mind what people will pay for a sexual experience. It'll blow your mind. They'll give you their last dollar for it. Right? So but the Dominicans, what they need to do is get more money out of people, but they don't have the right instructions. They tricking for low, they tricking for the low, but we in a world where people are selling OnlyFans porn for $29 a month. So, without no instructions, you fall for them type of things. Terrence, man, I appreciate the $9.99. I remember that. Mike Chain 6-pack abs. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, Ty made a lot of money. Yeah, big up to Ty. Ty was his ad platform, his ad buys was just on another level. So big up to him. I haven't seen him in a long time, but what he did with YouTube ad buys, it's just, he just showed people like really how to just really do it. And as a media buyer, you got to respect it. Now I'm not in none of the trick, but I can separate that. Right. So I'm not going to come out against the man being a trick. That's what he want to do. But as a media buyer, his advertising, he just was on another level with it. I've seen some other guys do it good. The millionaire guy, the Virgin millionaire guy, he had a lot of really good ads. But yeah, Ty took it to another level because Ty was the first person to really do it on that level. It was just crazy. You couldn't cut on YouTube without seeing that dude. And he just did it on a whole nother level. So big up to him. But also big up to Mike Chain 6-pack abs. I ain't seen Mike Chain in a long time. I wonder what he doing. But a lot of them fitness dudes be coming and going. Because I ain't seen the Insanity dude in a long time. Right? I haven't seen the P90X dude in a long time. So a lot of them fitness dudes, they run, they get their money, and I think they go probably put their money in real estate. They get out of the way. So dudes marry Playboy models for the experience. I feel you. I wonder, did you have to marry her to get the experience? So Emeka says the UN had to put out an advisory warning about the UK coming to engage in that Gambia and trafficking. Yeah, it's worldwide. It's not, it's just people have to understand this is a worldwide thing because there was a sister down in, I want to say, was it the Bahamas or maybe the Virgin Islands? And she was going after a bank that she said had connections to, what's the dude's name? Forgot his name, man. They say killed himself in jail. And she got fired behind that because she said the bank was facilitating what he was doing. Like this stuff was on another level, but you have it, the adult, and then it go into a whole nother lane. And that's what I try to tell people. So Erica say he sold his company now, Mike Chain Spiritual Fitness. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Big up to him. Big up to him because I sure remember that stuff. So what I try to tell people is that a lot of times when it comes to tricking, you start off in one lane, but you end up somewhere else because why? You get desensitized. So that's why you sometimes got to be careful with a lot of this stuff, but they'll find out their own way, because if you just can't get enough of it, and then you going overseas and try to, get involved in these little escapades and everything is, I got to try to take it to the next level. You can get in trouble with that type of stuff. Because what's the next level? And then it's a level past that. Then it's a level past that. Then now what? So, but that's what people want to do with their time and their money. So you got to let them do it. Because, you try to stop them, they're not going to like that. So it is what it is. But I want to encourage y'all, man, to make sure that you make your economic situation important. You try to focus on that. And over time, you try to filter people out of your life that are not invested in you become successful economically. Because when you're down bad, those same people are not going to be able to help you. And then you're not going to have to figure it out on your own what to do when you could have been spending the last 2 to 3 years building yourself up and then building out a network of people that can help you in those particular areas. Right? And so that's what I want people to really try to focus on. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Appreciate everybody for giving the super chats. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you got some value from it. David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I'll talk to you later.